This is part 2 of my updated cosplay FAQ. Part 1 was all about my cosplay, and this part is all about cosplay in general, so here we go. Do you have any advice for beginner cosplayers? I know this is gonna kind of feel like a cop-out, but honestly, just start. You're never gonna be ready, and you're gonna learn and improve your skills constantly as you work on cosplays. There's no reason not to start right now, so just pick a character that you're passionate about and just put your hands on some materials and try to make something. The internet can teach you to do practically anything. Where do you get your wigs? I get wigs from a ton of different places depending on my needs. If I want a high quality wig that's gonna look beautiful straight out of the bag, I pretty much always check Arta Wigs first. They have excellent quality, thick wigs with good fibers that are heat resistant for styling and that won't look shiny in photos. They have a totally unparalleled selection of colors and styles, and they ship really fast because they're based in the US. If I'm looking for a lace front wig, particularly in a natural color, then I usually check Wig is Fashion because their lace fronts are more affordable than anywhere else I've found with similar quality. However, you have to be prepared for really long shipping times with them. On the rare occasion that neither Arta nor Wig is Fashion can meet my needs, I check sites like Pungo Pungo, Gothic Lolita Wigs, or Epic Cosplay Wigs. If you're looking for really cheap wigs, like if it's gonna go under a hat or if you're doing like a really low-key project, then you can always try places like eBay or Amazon, or there's a Facebook group called US Cosplay Wig Sales and Swap where you can get secondhand wigs. But in general, when you use sources like that, you're risking ending up with a crappy wig, like one with shiny, cheap-looking fibers, or one where you can see the wig cap through it. So it's up to you. What's your biggest pet peeve in the cosplay community? I honestly really hate this attitude that cosplayers are in competition with each other. I don't like when people get possessive over characters or when people feel the need to compare to people who have done the same costume. Unless you're literally on stage for a costume contest, I don't think that any two cosplayers need to be in competition with each other. We're all just nerds playing dress up, so I don't really understand why loving the same character can't be a source of bonding instead of a source of conflict. This is something I see coming from both inside and outside the cosplay community, and I really think that the best way to keep cosplay a positive environment is to actively fight that attitude when we see it. Is there an age limit to cosplay? No, I don't think so. I know there are people who get into cosplay really early, but that's not the only way to do it. As a shining example, I would like to highlight my adorable parents who cosplayed for the first time last year at Denver Comic-Con as Han and Leia from The Force Awakens, and they are chomping at the bit to get started on cosplays for this year. Now, the question of whether or not it's too late to get into cosplay with the end game of being a professional is unfortunately a little bit more complicated. It would be silly to act like being young and attractive isn't part of what makes many cosplayers so successful, just like in modeling and in acting. But I think if you're aware of those obstacles, it gives you the power to overcome them. For instance, if you're getting into cosplay at 40, it might be a good idea to focus on impressive builds or detailed workmanship instead of going for a sexy vibe. And you might do better selecting characters who are canonically older rather than trying to cosplay below your age range. I think if you can play to your strengths, then you can cosplay successfully at any age. How do you handle sexism and suggestive comments? As a woman on the internet, I get inappropriate or sexist comments practically on a daily basis. Some of them feel innocuous, like male commenters who can't seem to keep their finger off the winking face emoji or who leave comments about my legs, and then some of them really cross the line. Comments about sexual fantasies, comments that refer to my body with vulgar language, and sometimes even threats of violence. The difficulty with being a woman online is you have to decide where you're going to draw that line, and then you have to enforce that line. And no matter how reasonable you think you're being, it can still blow up in your face. Personally, I draw my line a little sooner than some cosplayers might, and I'm not afraid to call people out for being inappropriate. I also don't hesitate to block people when I'm confident that they're not a positive addition to my social media. To be clear, I'm not upset about people finding me attractive. I obviously aim for that in a lot of my cosplays, and I like receiving compliments. Who doesn't? For me, I draw the line when people objectify me, when people treat me like an object of romantic or sexual desire instead of a human person. In the end, there's no way to quantify which comments feel gross to me and which don't, so I kind of just have to go with my instincts and accept that sometimes people will think I'm overreacting, but that kind of goes with the territory. Do you have advice for cosplaying on a budget? Boy, do I! In fact, I have so much advice that I can't fit it into this video, so I am starting a series about budget cosplay, and it will all be coming out this month, so make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss it. That concludes part 2 of my cosplay FAQ. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to leave them in the comments. I would be happy to answer them, or you can tweet them at me at itsginnyd, or if you have a longer form question, you can even send me an email at ginny@ginnyd.com. I wonder what my 2020 cosplay FAQ will look like. Ginny, just 3 years ago, did you ever think you would go on to become the most famous cosplayer in the world and also be knighted?